Well, good afternoon. It is August 17th, Saturday, and it is that time of year again.
Third annual.
Yes. Dan and I have been getting together. This is like you said, the third annual reunion of deer camps. Whitetail Warriors Deer Camp, Camp Benny. We'll get together. I don't know, maybe one of these days we'll get all the crew together and that kind of thing. Could be fun. But this is just a time of year. Dan and I are both excited for fall, and we start thinking about deer camp and everything that's got
leading up to it.
Yeah, everything that leads up to it. It's like, I don't know if it's accurate to say half the fun or most of the fun or whatever. I'm sure everybody's got their own thought on that. But whatever the case is, I know we can come together to say this is fun.
Yep.
And so before we know it, it'll be time to get the guys together and head up to camp. So it's great to get together, leading up to camp. They'll be here before we know it.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do through this segment is I'm going to take this time, and I'd like to interview Dan, and of course I could give some feedback on the Camp Benny side, just some stuff about his camp and that kind of thing. I've got a list of a few questions we could go through here, and I'll post that on the Camp Benny YouTube channel. And of course I'm going to encourage you to head over to Whitetail Warriors Deer Camp and check out Dan's channel. The other part of this segment, Dan's going to film a series of interview questions with myself, and he's going to post that segment on his channel. So each video will have different content to it, kind of with a similar focus though, of course.
Deer camp.
Yes, exactly. And if it's not that, then it's deer camp.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. So let me find what I've got going on here.
Man, it's a beautiful day since it stopped raining.
Yeah, you ran into a fair amount of rain heading over here, didn't you?
All the way here it rained. Poured rain.
Oh.
Yeah.
Glad you made it. Okay, so I'm gonna I've got 15 questions.
Shoot.
To throw at you. We'll see where we get. Number one, what inspired you, Dan, to start or take over your deer camp?
My dad.
Okay.
Now I don't know, I may shed a tear through all this, but my dad started deer camp, in '73, and they used to rent Grayling, and he got our present camp in '89, and we lost him in 2006. But I got into deer hunting. For me, was like 80% of it was self-taught.
Okay.
By watching hunting videos or reading as many books as I could on deer hunting and learning, and then trial and error, But following my dad, I wanted to keep the deer camp going, so my dad got me inspired to, deer camp.
Yeah.
I like to do some of the things he did, like we talked before. My dad, I cook breakfast, I cook dinners, I do all the dishes, and my dad did all that. We get up in the morning, breakfast is ready. We come in from hunting at night, dinner was ready. Nowadays dinner isn't ready when we come in from hunting because I'm out hunting.
Yeah.
But no, it was my dad following my dad's footsteps at deer camp.
Well, that's awesome that you carried on that tradition, that you appreciate enough that you would embrace it and continue it on. And I'm confident that that's exactly what your dad would have wanted.
Yep.
So good job.
I'm doing my best to. It's hard, like I think, as you well know, it's not easy, having. Of course, every camp's different, but I think the deer camp's is a dying breed.
That kind of leads right into my next question, Dan. What do you think has contributed to the decline in deer camp participation?
In Michigan, and we don't have to go in too far into it, but in Michigan, I think it's the regulations, how they change year after year, how you got to have this many antler point restrictions for this you know, there's 3 or 4 different antler point restrictions. West, certain areas you got to have 4 points. Down by where I live, it's a spike. You know, and in the kids nowadays coming up, they'd rather play on a phone or play. They've lost interest. And now with the youth hunt, the way they changed the laws, not for this season, but for next year, they can only shoot does. How many kids are going to keep going? So that, I think the regulations has really changed a lot. And of course, where you and I do bulk of our hunting, we don't want to get into that, but there's other issues that until something's done, there's, well, you just bought a new camp, right? And how many were for sale? People are just going to start selling camps left and right, and because nothing wants to be done about the situation up there.
Yeah.
So that's, I feel the rules that they change every year after year after year, it's getting to the point where you need a law degree to hunt anymore.
Yeah, I do agree that it is really complicated.
Yep.
I would say, you know, from my perspective, that doesn't help things. But I think the generation in general, whether it's hunting or just time in the woods or outdoors, there's a lot of things that exist now that
wasn't there when we were growing up.
Wasn't there when we were growing up, right?
Yep.
We actually got bored, you know, in our younger days, and we knew not to express it, or Dad would put us to work right away for saying it or whatever.
Well, it's just like fishing.
Good.
You know, if they don't go out fishing and catch a fish right away, they lose interest.
Yeah. And so before, you know, we may have a tendency to go run that generation in the ground for doing that, but we probably would have done the same thing had we had the same things at our fingertips, right? Mm-hmm. So if we arrive at that being the case, I think the best chances of whether it's slowing down a decline, or better yet, let's change the trajectory of this where it's increase, you know, a growing demographic. I think it's critical that we get some of our youth that are excited and are passionate about this, and help them, enable them to be a good influence to the rest of their peers. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's the best chances, because they want to hang out with their buddies, right?
Yep. And this buddy don't hunt, and this buddy don't hunt, but this one does, so he's going to be a follower.
Exactly. So when I don't know about you, but when I was in high school, I hung out with the guys that hunted. You know, I found that group and I hung with them. Some of us were more sick about it than others, let's say, in a good way. That's probably a little harder to find now for you. Yeah. So, but that's something that we can help open their eyes to. They may not realize that that would be a form of enablement. Just kind of my thoughts. What's a typical day at deer camp look like?
Get up at 4:30 in the morning, cook breakfast, and get everybody situated where they're all going, and we all take off. Whether this guy's going to sit all day or this guy's going to sit, everybody goes their own way, and they all know their way back to camp if they don't want to stay all day. And some of us, we don't all hunt right next to the cabin, so we all venture out. We may take one vehicle, and you know, but I like to sit all day. My son and them, the first couple of days, they like to sit all day, but it's usually I get up at 4:30 in the morning and I cook everybody breakfast, and if you want to go out hunting, if not, go back to bed type thing.
Yeah.
But then I come in and we come back. If we're not dragging deer, then or looking for a deer, then I'll cook dinner for everybody. And then it's either we hook up the shower and take showers, or we play cards, or the guys may, like we talked earlier, they may play a Xbox or whatever on the TV, or they may run to the casino. But that's basically what a day is up at deer camp.
That sounds like a pretty good day.
Yeah. And me, the older I get, I sit all day. I'm ready to lay horizontal after about 7:30, 8 o'clock. So.
Yeah, it can be draining just sitting, isn't that amazing? Yeah. Just trying to stay warm.
Well, you're concentrating on, you know, after you're looking at things you swore that was a deer, but you looked at it for 8 hours of the day and it wasn't a deer, you know, but you're thinking it's a deer.
Yeah.
So that's what the day consists of at our camp.
Right on. So how important is the sense of community at deer camp, and how do you foster it?
Well, as long as there's no drama.
Yes.
No drama, and I kind of lay the young bucks at my camp know. Okay, no BS, and we all get along.
Yep.
You know, they know their role. They know what they got to do. As long as, like I said, I'm the camp cook and the dishwasher. They just got to haul the wood in, and when they run to town to play on their phones, they get water. You know, I kind of accommodate these young bucks. I let them play on their phones. Let them go do what they want to do. Let them go to the casino because I don't want to lose them. So I make sacrifices to have them at camp, but they know I mean business.
They know what's expected of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that if you have your own camp, or you're thinking about having a camp, take it from us that clarity and communication is pretty critical to. That's how you avoid the drama on a camp, right?
Yeah. Drama will kill a deer camp.
Yes. Or make it very unfun for.
Uncomfortable. That that the next guy won't want to come back again. And you don't want that. You want everybody to enjoy themselves, whether they're getting a deer or not. Just everybody have fun.
Yeah, and there's a lot of value. I think you're leaning into this of having those regular guys season over season versus a new guy every year, and there is a plus side of having a new guy in camp, and that good for you that you're introducing somebody maybe to the deer camp lifestyle. That's a positive. But if you aren't retaining them, or if they aren't at least building their own new camp, then I don't know that it's really productive at all.
I did that last year. I got a new guy.
That's great.
And he's coming again this year. So hopefully it's you know, I was a little bit nervous at first, but it turned out great, and I couldn't be more happier than letting that guy share a deer camp his very first time ever. So, and he enjoyed himself, and he's coming back.
That's
like
awesome.
I said before, I can't guarantee. The only thing I can guarantee is a good time.
Yep.
So, you know.
Well, good luck to you and him this fall.
Thank you.
Let's see. How do you prepare for the deer season, both logistically and mentally?
Well, I'm thinking about it 365 days a year. So mentally, I'm already there.
Yep.
Okay. The other aspect of it, I make lists as I think about stuff, so I'm not last minute, where's this at?
Yeah.
You know, and I work as much overtime as I can to get that out of the way. But mentally, there's no thinking about that. It's there.
Yeah.
I got deer camp and deer hunting on my mind the day I get home from the last day of the season, or I end the season down home. Before January 1st of next year, I'm already got dates planned when I'm going to camp, and it's on my mind all year round.
How do you involve the younger generation in deer camp?
Slowly. I reach out to him, my son. Hey, remember this date? We got to go to camp before the bugs start, you know. And we get up there early spring, sitting at the kitchen table, and we start making plans. Our plan is. I'll tell them what my plan is, the dates and everything for the upcoming fall. So that starts in the spring, our annual spring trip before you can't even go outside, bug season starts.
Yeah.
And you know they get bad.
Yep.
You know, after about the 15th of May, you can't even go outside.
Yeah.
So that's all talked about then, what's everybody doing, and then I'll get with them during the summer. Hey, let's do this, let's get this, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Started. My deer prep starts before January 1st, but my talk with the guys is usually around end of April, first part of May.
Okay.
Get the ball rolling.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like you're being intentional about it. That's key. Can you share any tips for someone thinking about starting or joining a deer camp?
Well, I'd ask around, or I'd start my own. Whether that be pitching a tent or something, but I will say, if you get invited to a deer camp, don't act like you know everything, because more than likely you're going to go to a deer camp that's had guys that's already been established for generation after generation. You know, between you and I, we probably got over 60 years of deer camp experience alone. You know, you're not going to come in and try to tell us how to, you know, so go with the flow with a deer camp. You know, they got rules, follow the rules. Don't go in there with an attitude that you know everything.
Yeah.
You know, because I've had that. And that just starts drama, and this is the way deer camp is.
Yeah.
You're gonna do chores, you're gonna help out.
Yeah.
Just don't go in there with the attitude that you know everything.
Yeah. I think to like double down on that, going into the deer camp, you know, the host has quite an investment in what's there, and they have an idea of, you know, there's definitely going to be some inspiration and passion behind it all. Usually their goal is for it to be a good time for everybody. And it helps as much as that person coming into camp can contribute, but not from the know-it-all standpoint like Dan mentioned, but more from it's a servanthood. Not like you're a slave to that host or anything like that. In fact, they don't want you to feel that way. It's not about that, but
just
at least clean up after yourself.
Yeah.
Sharing what you have a bit. Offer to go a little above and beyond, and you know, keep the place tidied and maintained. You know, just all those little things. When what they say, many hands make the load light, right? That's a teaming type spirit and mentality. The leader, that part's already covered. That's with the host. That's their position. Unless they are assigning you to, say, be a leader over something. And we'll have that, or I'll do that a bit in my camp. Nick, can you handle a meal? You know, Brian, can you handle a meal? I have each of the guys responsible for a meal. That lightens the load for me. Really appreciate it. Also diversifies a bit our palates, what we're going to eat, because different guys like different things. And it probably shouldn't be me doing it all anyways, right? We're a team and should be working together. Have a little bit more skin in it, right?
Yeah. But I say, the first part of your question there, you can get some buddies and get a tent, an old army tent, or buy one on Facebook Marketplace and go anywhere on state land, get a camping permit. I believe they're free, and set a camp up and go from there. But yeah, deer camp, if you get invited to one, just cherish the moment.
What would you say to someone who has never experienced deer camp life to encourage them to give it a try?
Whoa. They don't know what they're missing. I would say, first of all, I would try to take them up to camp just to show them the camp life.
Yep.
All right. You're not at home. Now I'm speaking from my camp. You just don't flick a light switch on, because I don't have no power. Okay, so you're already roughing it to begin with.
Yep.
You know, I would invite them up there just to show them, you know, what camp is like, you know. And then I would go into the next step and say, it's not easy up here.
Yep.
You know why, I know why, everybody watching this knows why. I says, but you're more than welcome to come and experience 4 or 5 days, 7 days of a week of deer hunting up here. I'll guarantee you'll have a good time, But I would, first of all, I would take them up there and introduce them and show them what they're getting themselves into. Because a lot of people don't like the rustic roughing it. A lot of people don't like that.
Yep.
You know, they want the hot shower, and they want the flick the light switch on, use the microwave. I don't have no. I mean, you got one now. I'm not ragging on you, but I'm just saying I don't have none of that.
Yep.
You know, and the
And
gas.
I'm certainly familiar with that.
Yeah, you know, so I just had to rub that in. 'Cause
Yeah.
I saw you got a microwave now at camp.
Yes.
You know, but no, I would first invite them up there to show them what they're getting into, what it's all about. You know,
Yeah.
there's more to deer camp than just deer hunting.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. There's more. There's the camaraderie. There's the card playing and the so-called joking around, and just the camaraderie. No drama. Just hanging out at deer camp. You know.
Yeah.
So I would first introduce them to that before I would say, hey, here's a gun, come on with me, let's go deer hunting. I wouldn't do that first.
Yes.
I would take them up to camp and take them on the 2 tracks and show them around and go from there. That's how I would try to get somebody that, of course I failed at that, because I've gotten friends that say, Dan, I can't understand why you drive 400 miles to go deer hunting when you got the best deer hunting down here. And
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, well, it's deer camp, and you don't.
You got to experience it to
Yeah,
know.
you got to experience it to know what I'm talking about. And it's not for everybody. You know.
We would encourage you to give it a try and at least experience it. Obviously, I'd set my sights on a camp that's likely to be the most drama-free.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like my kids, as I was raising them, I challenged each one of them to at least take a deer during the youth hunt. Get that process under their belt. The range of emotions that we go through and all those things to a degree. Understandably, the youth hunt is slightly maybe different than, say, fall and certainly deer camp, right? That's just even better stuff yet, but and builds into that. But before you say, no, I'm never going to hunt, or I don't want anything to do with that, that doesn't seem right to say without having actually at least experience it. Then experience it. If you say that, then so be it, right? So get out there, experience a deer camp, and then make that decision of, yeah, it's not for me, or it is. We believe it'll be an experience that you'll never forget. Dan, thank you for your time. The kind of part 2 of this will be on Dan's channel, and that we'll get into recording that shortly. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to end this segment with I love deer hunting stories. Could you please pick your story, just a story from deer camp that the viewers may get a kick out of, or
Do you want the one about the wolves, or what one do you want?
it is entirely up to you.
Well, it was I can't remember if it was opening day or the second day of the season there back in 2008. And like I said, I was hunting a new area, and I had tacks in the trees, and as we were walking out, I had another guy with me who was hunting in another area, but he had to go past me to get to his blind, and I saw some eyes and kept on walking. He took off, went to his blind. I poured a cup of coffee in mine, and I was wearing it. The wolf started howling. The eyes that I seen with my flashlight were wolves. And like I said, when people ask me, that's the number 1 story there, right there. That they came in, they were hollering, they were circling the blind. About 10-15 minutes, 4 or 5 inches of fresh snow and a full moon, and it was like almost daylight out. You could see with that kind of snow and the moon.
Yeah.
And I was yelling at the top of my lungs, and they just kept circling, and finally they walked away. But yeah.
Did they give any reaction at all when you were yelling at them?
No, they just kept growling more and showing me their teeth, like they were ready to pounce on that nylon blind of mine. And I get people say, well, if that would have been me, I would have shot. Well, I didn't want to shoot. But it would have came too if they came, you know, to the blind. I didn't.
You knew you didn't like what was going on. All indicators were this may not end well.
No, for some of those. Yeah. And they were all had radio collars, and they were all adults, and you know they took off. But you know it's the consequences of getting caught. You know, you can't just shoot a wolf because it's walking by you. I mean, you can if you want, but explain that one. You know, and you know there's a lot of that going on now. Yeah. Which
it probably at least better have a bullet in its chest, because if it weren't, then how would you explain that it's attacking you, right?
So yeah, so that story will stick with me. That's 2000, and now this guy Rich supposedly is going to deer camp this year. He hasn't been up there, back up at camp since then, 2008. So
I've never experienced anything like that, and I gotta imagine that was a bit eerie at the time.
Yeah,
I hope I don't experience
I had coffee all over me, and you know, at first it was kind of neat.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, man, look at these wolves. They got radio collars on them. Well, then the next thing you know, they're growling, showing their teeth, and I'm like, well, this ain't neat anymore, you know.
Yeah.
And then like the local guy up there, a local old timer, told me they smelt that doe urine you had out there, and that's what they were after, because I had some mock scrapes out there. So, yeah, that's the story. The wolves, 2008. But I can't remember if it was opening day or if it was the 16th. I'd have to look at the logbook, but yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yes, sir. Thanks for letting me come over.
My pleasure. So, year 3. To catch the next segment of this, if you haven't already, you may have come over from Dan's channel after I've watched that, but if you haven't, make sure you get over there and check that out.
Appreciate it.
I actually don't know who's going to release the video first. You may beat me to it, or I may beat you to it.
Well, who knows? You sound like you're awful busy though, so
yeah, we'll see on it. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck to everybody this fall. If you get a chance to join a deer camp for the first time, or you're just going simply to good old deer camp that you've been going to year over year, best of luck to you all. Hope you shoot a dandy.
Okay, you gonna go first, or you want me to?
Doesn't matter to me at all. I could
go for it.
Okay. All right.
Or I can. Don't matter.
I'll kick it off.
All right.